Hello, everybody. My name is Alexey Krabrov. I'm the founder and co-organizer of SF Scala Meetup. Here we are at Launch Darkly in beautiful Oakland on the shore of Lake Merritt for our first post-pandemic meetup. It's been a few years, and we're super happy to have with us Lucas Kuczera, founder and CEO of Scala C, a company which helps clients develop code in beautiful programming languages. And we have a talk from Scala C in the program on duct tape, a utility set for Scala productivity. And we have several other talks, and we are very thankful that Lucas sponsored this meetup so we can have this beautiful recording. Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you for helping.
Absolutely. And I didn't know you're local until very recently, so it's great to have you in the community. Tell us a little bit about Scala C, about yourself. How I remember an amazing picture. You had this office in Gdańsk, or like like you were sitting like reclined, like was super awesome office. Why did you leave that beautiful office? Right, like I was in this office all day long, like with a big screen. So what brought you over, and how? Tell us about your path.
Right. So story goes back to 2010 right now, I don't remember exactly. I went to some conference and I saw the Scala for the first time. And actually, I didn't get anything about it because the guy who was presenting was really bad at it. So then I bought the Scala book by Bill Wenners, Oderski. And I discovered that this is really cool language that fixes a lot of issues that I had back then with Java, and I immediately fell in love. So I set up on this path to promote the I started to use it in like day-to-day work, at least as much as I could, and it was really hard back then because there was not so many projects using Scala. So yeah, I decided, well, maybe at some point it's going to be really good to set up a company that's going to help promote the language. And also back then in 2014 when we started, it was really hard to find any Scala engineers. So initially, before that, I was working for a startup from Silicon Valley. So I learned how to work remotely, and also I learned the startup world more. And so that was a background for launching Scala C, and my idea was to promote the language. And since I had experience working remotely, and also I knew it's impossible to have like Scala team in one place, especially in Poland back then, I decided to start remote first. So we did remote work before it was the thing, and that's how it started. And then suddenly the Scala started to grow in popularity really rapidly, and the company grew really quickly. So I had to quickly transform from being a software engineer. My plan was to be we're gonna have maybe a bunch of Scala engineers, and we're gonna hack some Scala code, and that's gonna be it. And the company grew really quickly, and I had to switch more into managing the company instead of doing, software engineering, which was, a bummer. But I took the role, and in 2018, still, I had this idea that let's try live somewhere abroad, and California seemed like a good place for various different reasons for me and my family. So I decided, let's try it. And I didn't want to rush, so I took some time, and then my visa was approved in February 2020, and you know the story. So everything was closed, and so I decided to still pursue this idea. So I moved to Bay Area 2 years ago, and that's why I also wanted to restart the meetups. I hope that the COVID is gonna end and everything is gonna go back to normal, which still is not the case, but it's getting there. We are getting there. And I'd love to promote the language and technologies around Scala, and organize meetups and conferences. And also, as a company, we help other companies, get up to speed with Scala expertise. So if you need any help for your projects, then we are here to help.
Sounds awesome. And it's a great story. I remember you came to Scale by the Bay.
Yeah.
In 2018, your team was very effective, meeting everybody, driving up business, right? So like I saw clearly this is this is a go-getter company. Like you make things happen. And yes, you get like a nice hoodie from you guys. This was awesome. So thank you for that. You brought a very nice t-shirt specifically for this meetup. So
yeah,
I think that's the first time. So, this is a historic moment, right? Like we're doing it. So I totally agree with you on the beauty of Scala that was brought me into Scala, but I also learned at the same time as Scala, right, a lot of other functional programming languages. So I learned Haskell, Clojure, OCaml. I knew Erlang a little bit and basically Scala. So I thought, when I was finishing my PhD, this is like the last time in my life I'll be able to learn languages for my own fun, which was true, because like you said, like as you progress with your career, responsibility grow. So in my mind, right, Scala is a representative of functional programming family of languages. And even earlier, I noticed that a lot of before the crypto boom, there were not many Haskell jobs, much more Scala jobs, right? And so a lot of Haskellers, I call them moronic or crypto Haskellers. A lot of Scala people, basically the Haskellers masquerading as Scala programmers, but they were exchanging type definitions in Haskell, which is much shorter, right? And so I think that kind of clearly you see cross-pollination between Haskell and Scala. And so I wonder, what's your take, right? So like we have a bunch of geeks who basically love programming languages. Scala just happened to be the one which pays a lot of money compared to others, which is employed by Twitter, Confluent, Databricks, right? So there is a bunch of Scala inside, although a lot of stuff outside is Python now, like PySpark, right? But I learned doing this meetup that a bunch of companies use Scala. For instance, LaunchDarkly. I didn't know they use Scala. I know them.
Yeah, I didn't know that too. So good to promote, through the meetup, because we can learn that there are more users of Scala and other languages. If we organize, let's say Haskell meetup, then we're gonna learn there are more people out there. And there is a lot of talk about that Scala is losing popularity, which I wouldn't say that's the case. I would say there is less growth. The growth has slowed. There was a big time for Scala a couple of years ago, and now it's more like mature and slowing down. But also interesting approach to like Haskell guys hiding behind Scala. I totally agree. So I would say like Scala is this maybe not a holy grail, but some like a middle ground between object-oriented and functional programming, and it plays a very important role because you have this like hardcore functional programming languages like Haskell and Clojure and OCaml, and those are very hard to learn and start. And then you have object-oriented, which is like the basic bread and butter for programming nowadays, like Java, .NET, and other popular languages, Python. So then there was this huge popularity of functional programming, and Scala was helping to onboard people into functional programming. And now a lot of this stuff is being taken from Haskell and Scala and being backported to other object-oriented programming languages. So as a whole, I would say the whole industry is moving forward and learning. We are learning from each other, and like the classic object-oriented programming nowadays are having all those functional features as well, because it helps to write better software, less bugs, and it's easier to reason about functional code instead of object-oriented. So yeah, there is a lot of good stuff is going this way, and also we have AI. Everyone is talking about AI nowadays. And we have big influx of people trying to do AI without even thinking like, what is it, and what are you gonna do? I just want to do AI because it pays a lot. So I would say it hurts like the industry a bit, because it's driven by like not the drive for for technical or like. I don't have like this internal drive because I want to be a software engineer. It's more like money driven because, all right, it pays a lot. so maybe I'll become a software engineer. So this path is a little bit sketchy, I would say, but still, like the software engineering is growing like crazy. We have a slight downturn right now because the market went really crazy with the salaries, and every company was buying out engineers from each other. So right now with this slowdown, I think it's getting back to like a healthy state, which is really important. And speaking about the programming language itself, I just came back from Seattle from Scala days, so I have a fresh intake on what's going on specifically in Scala. So they move forward with the language itself. Now we are in this big move from 2.13 to Scala 3, which will promise forward and backward compatibility, something that is holding Scala back, was holding in Scala 2. And there is a lot of good stuff happening. So Scala is thriving. Yeah, there is adoption is going on, maybe a little bit slower than it used to before. Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on with, for example, Haskell or Clojure. I'm not so close to those languages. But yeah, definitely there is a lot of movement forward and a lot of like R&D going on in those less popular languages, because that's possible. In case of Java has to be very slow, because if you break something in Java, like the whole world breaks down.
That's right.
So there is
all the banks stop working.
Yeah, exactly. So there is this very hard balance of innovation versus stability, and definitely the functional languages are more on the innovative side. And with the AI, I think right now Python is dominating, but I don't think that's the best tool for that job. So at this point, I don't see any like a specific tool, from the programming languages that would be the best suited for developing AI solutions, machine learning. But I think that something else than Python definitely is going to appear that's going to be very performant and type safe for programming AI. So that I would say that's my 2 cents on what's going on right now.
On that, I have a couple kind of thoughts about what you said. So first of all, like for the programming languages, I totally agree with you. Like I was really hoping that something will come up that will be secure and fast for AI. So there was a Swift for TensorFlow project, which for a while looked like, it's going to be it. So Chris Leitner, the creator for LLVM, went to Google, right? And they did this. And then basically, I was so happy I did the actual Swift to TensorFlow meetup. And Jeremy Howard, who is a speaker, Scala by the Bay, and creator of Fast AI, who teaches deep learning for software engineers, he was super enthusiastic, so he actually did this course in Swift. And then after like Chris went away, the group was picked up like by Apple compiler team and others. I felt sad, but just like last month, right, Chris announced a new language called Mojo for modular.ai, which basically will have like a drop-in runtime for Python, just speeds things up magically like 3 times. And then it's a typed compiled language. So and he showed this demo. The moment you want to take one like thing as a vector, it speeds up by 10. Then it's a matrix. Now it speeds up by 100. Now it's you vectorize it, and it speeds up by 1,000, right? And so down through types. He claims that it will be totally compatible with Python. So I think Mojo is a huge thing which will be presented by Modular at Scala by the Bay in November. So we hope you guys track it and come. Scala by the Bay is back, and this is where Lucas was, and this is also happened in Oakland, actually very close on the Lake Merritt, right?
Very, very nice venue. I love this place.
Yeah, so it's really next to it, and we are next to the original Oakland Scala by the Bay, which we did at Kaiser. So we're actually in this beautiful place where we used to do it, and we'll do it again. So that's on programming languages. Also, when you mentioned popularity of Scala declining, I kind of felt the same looking at all the drama on Twitter. Right, and so you would like look at it and you would think that, but when I was doing this and I announced Scala by the Bay, a lot of our volunteers came back And I learned from one of them who was a volunteer, and will be a volunteer again, Eric, great guy. He works at Carvana. Everybody in America knows Carvana, the used car company you buy online. But they have sometimes they have a vending machine for cars. So they use Scala, right? I didn't know that. So I want to learn what they're doing. So I think the real fact is, if you talk to a lot of people in the industry who haven't heard about LaunchDarkly, we haven't seen them on social media, arguing with people, obviously they're in business, right? Like they're not there for that. And so what I find is that a lot of work is being done with Scala by people who really don't care about arguing about politics, and
also, sorry for interrupting, but also that was one of the arguments during the Scala days. So they see the number of the artifacts, Scala artifacts downloads, and there is no downturn. It's there is a steady growth. The growth is not so dynamic as it was before. So looking at the data, you can see that there is still adoption is going on. So that's really good. And about the AI and modular, I think that's the way to go. Something like compile into Python. So you're gonna have something that like Scala is being compiled actually to Java bytecode. So something that's being very performant and compiled probably maybe into Python or Python something else. I know I think that's the way to go, because right now the libraries and the ecosystem in Python for AI and machine learning is so huge that it's going to be really hard to, just get out of that and do something new. So
very cool. Well, just like a little aside, it's like one of my hobby projects, right? So there is a new social called Blue Sky, and tons of top geeks are there. Like you see, like Joe Beda, the creator of Kubernetes, is live coding the protocol. Like you see, Brad Fitzpatrick, one of the creators of Go, like being there because it's written in Go. And so I did a little side project. So I invited and brought in Martin Dursky to Blue Sky. I also, when you talked about object functional, obviously the big other languages of Sharp. So I'm very happy that I brought Don Syme to Blue Sky. I really want to bring Rich Hickey, and we talked to SPJ if he will come, so we invited him. So I have invites for the founders of programming languages, right? I work with kind of the developer team, and they like the developers. They like programming languages. So if anybody who is watching knows and can invite Rich Hickey, Guido van Rossum, and all the other creators of programming languages, TypeScript, let me know, connect me. I want to give them an invite, because we should have good geeks in that place. And that place is, as opposed to Twitter, is kind of spam-free. It's invite only. The early community is full of developers, and it's feels like early days. People are hacking. People are talking about stuff. It's very free of drama, and it's really nice. So if you are tired of drama, go to Blue Sky and have some advice. Hit me up. Bring some founders of programming languages. That would be really, really cool. I have something I want to run by you. I think I might have shared with you, but I get more and more convinced of this. When I go to LLM events, here's kind of what I see happen in AI and why Python is not necessarily the only thing in town. Basically, PyTorch was used to train a whole bunch of models. People spent hundreds of millions of dollars. Thank you, OpenAI. Thank you, investors. Now we have these machines, right? So I treat them as an oracle. There is a black box, right? It's like Oracle of Delphi. People would come, people would pray to it and say magic words, and it will spit back answers, right? And it knows, so what's happening, if you look at LLM programming, prompt engineering, all of these frameworks, is basically string APIs. That's all it is. It's basically an API at scale. You send strings to it, it spits out strings, right? And now you can feed a structured input. It will maybe spit out XML back at you. Maybe it will be broken and made up XML, but generally it's strings. And who knows strings best? First of all, Erlang was built to exchange billions of short strings. This is exactly the case for hitting an API. Right. And so who knows async? We know async. Our community eats async for breakfast, right? We know futures. I claim that this community with Akka and futures and everything knows async programming at scale better than any other community, right? No matter which other languages have these libraries, Akka was exercised at planetary scale. When on rise Eero, Palantir, some huge things running Akka.
Yeah, Disney is using Scala.
Disney for streaming.
And the streaming also, the Akka popularized reactive programming and streams and this stuff. So there is a lot of innovation that is happening in Scala that is being adopted by other Golang or Python or whatnot. I mean, like the approaches to architecture, how to solve those big scale issues. A lot of those things happen in Scala, and I think that was the big hype before. And people think, oh no, Scala is gone, and that's completely not the case. Scala is thriving and being used every day in a lot of different companies. Of course, there are always cases where someone says, oh no, we are getting out of Scala because X, Y, Z or whatever. Or there is this huge drama in the community, which actually doesn't affect like majority, I would say 99% of Scala users are not affected by the dramas that are going on between, let's say, the faces of Scala. And yeah, so there is a lot of innovation going on, and it's going to be it will keep going. So definitely it's worth to jumping in. So one of the reasons I want to organize meetups and conferences and speak about Scala is that the way to grow the Scala community is to get new engineers joining, especially young engineers. So one of our speakers today, Alexander, he's in his 20s. We picked him up from the university. We do Scala camps during the summer. We pick a bunch of students. We teach them on some real projects, and we decide to take a couple of those guys and keep them teaching for the next usually like 2 years maybe, when they become junior engineers and they can start working on commercial projects. So it's a very long and very slow process, but I'm really happy even if we bring let's say 1 or 2 persons, graduates, or even students, because they start usually they're on their 3rd year. Then I'm really happy that we can grow the community, because that's my goal, to promote the technology that I love, and I want to keep it going.
That's awesome. I really like that approach, right? Like, it's very systematic. You invest in people, you invest in learning. It's not going anywhere, right? Like, what I found, I wonder if you saw the same. Right? Like, people are talking, what's the ChatGPT effect on programming, right? And some people say, like, this is going to take their jobs, it's going to disappear. So one nice insight I got from my friend who is at Google, and she's a senior engineer there. She basically said, like, to say that ChatGPT will get rid of programmers is like to say that magic will get rid of magicians.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's not right. Like, it's when you like see that makes no sense. But what I also found, a lot of people in our community, like Roland Kuhn tweeted, right? Like, he didn't care about Copilot for a long time, and then he tried it. He found that he completed his project 10 times faster, right? So what I found that, and so the same thing I've seen from many senior people, instead of seeing it as a threat and like wringing their heads and like lamenting the demise of software engineering as a job, they just basically like, now I can do my thing faster, 5 times faster, 3 times faster.
Yeah.
So they know exactly what they're doing, right? So people who know what they're doing now can get, to do it much faster. People who don't know what they're doing will be replaced by ChatGPT, right? And so this is kind of like, so what I think will happen in my mind, right? A lot of people you just mentioned who shouldn't be doing it because it's not their calling, right? They will be probably replaced by ChatGPT and do something else. But people who really do it well and care about it, they'll just see exactly what they need to do with this. What do you think of this?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and everyone is asking that, and I was thinking about it also, well, obviously. And so when I started my software engineering adventure, that was a very long time ago, it wasn't as popular, and it wasn't as well paid as it is nowadays. So I was more like enthusiast, and there was much more enthusiasts in general in tech. And then the big .com happened, and like everything like exploded, and right now we had this thing again during the COVID, like the tech exploded again in popularity and in salaries as well, in the money that was being poured in, which actually made things even worse. So yeah, totally. I mean, ChatGPT is a nice tool. and it's not useful for everything. It's, you know, for example, if you ask it something, you don't get any sources. So from my perspective, you know, I can't ask it about something because I don't know where it's coming from. I mean, like, where does this chair take its information, right? Where can you at least give me some sources that I could verify if they're legit or not? So that's a big thing, that people might get biased if, you know, they don't verify. But for programming language, jobs, definitely it's a useful tool. It helps. There are one of the companies, SourceGraph. They developed AI tool for helping with coding. Yeah, you can easily just type that I'm looking for something, and, you know, give your like text description, and it's going to give you what you're looking for. And
you can do structured search for using syntax on programming language. Yeah, we like SourceGraph. I know that. It's a good guys.
So they have this new tool, and definitely if ChatGPT or any other text AI can help with fixing bugs in our software, then awesome. I'm gonna take it, you know, all day. You know, it's a lot of times software engineers spend their work doing, you know, just looking for bugs. It's a waste of time and money. We don't want to do bugs. We want to just get rid of them. And if, you know, if AI can do it, it's cool. And the risk of losing jobs, well, you know, it's always the case. Like with robots in, you know, factories and other places where we can automate. So yeah, definitely we're gonna have other jobs. So actually, ChatGPT is creating new jobs, like a chat prompt engineer. That's being called right now. So we have a new category of jobs. You know, there's someone gonna have to program the ChatGPT to, you know, give the inputs and outputs. So yeah, I'm not afraid that we're gonna lose our jobs to ChatGPT. I rather see it as a tool that's going to help, you know, be more creative and, you know, do our job faster, and maybe get rid of mundane tasks like, you know, bug finding and stuff like that. Because why should I spend my time doing less creative work of, you know, bug hunting, while I could spend it on thinking about like a new creative solution for our product? So yeah, I'm looking forward to the new era.
That's awesome. You know, I want to do a shout out because I was looking, right? Like, I want to program against ChatGPT API. I don't want to do it in Python. Can I do it in Scala? So I Google and I find this, you know, OpenAI Scala client. Of course, it's written by an Eastern European company in Slovakia. So it's a shout out to Peter Banda. If you're out there, I found this, right? He implemented the whole client, everything, in the idiomatic Scala, including Scala 3, right? He found bugs in the Python. Nice. Many bugs, right, when he was doing this. And then he proceeded to do bay.news in Scala. He found a whole bunch of bugs in that in Python, right? So now you can do that. And again, like, there's absolutely no reason to do it in Python because you're just sending strings. You're receiving strings. You're storing the history of strings. You're parsing strings. Like, you can do it all in Scala beautifully. You have structures. You have objects, right? So I'm super excited. I think it's a renaissance of programming. Now we can program with strings. Like, programmers know strings. We know something. We don't know anything, but we know strings, right? So I'm really excited. Plus, of course, you know, Eastern European guys and girls and everybody have really good education. So this is coming out. We have a lot of Polish programmers doing Scala, Slovakian, everybody, right? So like I think there is a lot of learning, like you said, right? There is a strong schools of learning. People have this knowledge. They pass it along. So, and we're back in the physical community. And I think a lot of drama happened during pandemic because people were disunited, right? Like, they imagine things like, now we're back. I think it will bring back the community. I think the drama will decrease. Yeah, I think the kind of friendship will increase. So thank you, Lucas, for bringing us. And we're looking forward to the talk.
Yeah, thank you, Alexei, for having me.